want to fly the Apache? The entire maintenance room erupted in laughter. You signed a logistics contract, not pilot training. What's next? Asking to command the base. But when she slowly rolled up her sleeve, the room went dead silent. Someone whispered in shock, "Oh my God, that's the Ghost Squadron insignia from Operation Hawkeye." Her name was Kayla Tran, 33 years old, logistics engineer, newly transferred to Fort Carrington Air Base in Arizona. Small frame, hair tied back neat, always wearing faded gray mechanics coveralls, no rank insignia anywhere. Every morning she volunteered to check dust buildup on the Apache main rotors. Nobody asked her to. She just did it. The younger technicians called her Wing Wiper because she cleaned every rotor blade like she was caring for something alive. In the mess hall, she sat alone. Nobody invited her to join their tables. Once she picked up an American flag that had fallen from its mounting bracket. She folded it back with perfect military precision. A young airman made fun of her. "Acting like you've been through military training." Another one, "Keep dreaming, pilot wannabe." But Kayla never responded to the mockery. She just continued her quiet work, maintaining equipment with a level of care that seemed almost personal. During break times, she'd sit by herself studying maintenance manuals that were years out of date, old Apache technical guides from 2014, equipment specifications that weren't used anymore. When newer techs asked why she bothered with obsolete information, she'd just say, "Sometimes the old ways are the only ways that work." What they didn't know was that Kayla could diagnose Apache mechanical problems by listening to engine sounds. She could spot rotor imbalances from 20 feet away. She could predict system failures days before they happened. Skills that seemed impossible unless you'd learned them under life or death conditions. The breaking point. During the weekly Apache patrol assignment briefing, Kayla stepped forward and spoke clearly. "I request permission to perform functional testing on Apache B-02. A moment of stunned silence. Then the entire room burst into laughter. The lead technician shook his head. "You're on a logistics contract. Nobody wants to see an aircraft explode because someone got delusions of grandeur." The flight supervisor added, "Stick to what you know. Leave the flying to people who actually know what they're doing." Kayla didn't argue, didn't defend herself, just nodded quietly and stepped back. But something in her eyes, something that looked like disappointment, not in them, in herself, for hoping things might be different this time. Comment, "So unfair," if you've seen good people treated badly. After her request was denied, Kayla was reassigned to the fuel depot, far away from the Apache hangars. Rumors spread through the base. She got kicked out of pilot school. She has psychological issues. She's delusional about her capabilities. But Sergeant Tyson, who'd seen her working on sensor systems, started getting suspicious. One night, he discovered her adjusting control panel configurations using SPG-57 Ghost modules, equipment only used in classified special operations. He quietly photographed the schematics and ran a search. What he found made his blood run cold. SPG-57, Tran, was linked to a missing squadron from Operation Hawkeye 2014. He began watching her more carefully. Every night, Kayla would sneak into the training facility and use the VR simulator to practice Apache flight maneuvers. But these weren't basic training runs. These were advanced combat scenarios, night operations, emergency landings under fire. Once, he saw her cleaning a piece of old Apache canopy glass, whispering to herself, "Right eye is the living eye, not the sensor." An older maintenance chief recognized her one day and asked quietly, "Are you Kayla Tran? Ghost 3? She just smiled, nodded slightly, and walked away. Sergeant Tyson decided to dig deeper. He accessed personnel records from 2014. What he found was mostly classified, but one document wasn't fully redacted. Operation Hawkeye, missing personnel. Ghost Squadron, presumed KIA. Last confirmed pilot, K. Tran, the last night flyer. But if she was presumed dead, how was she here? He found a partial mission report. Ghost 3 completed emergency extraction under heavy fire. Saved 14 personnel. Aircraft destroyed during exfiltration. Pilot status, unknown. The pieces started clicking together. The SPG-57 modules, the obsolete technical manuals, the perfect maintenance work, the way she touched the Apache helicopters like she was greeting old friends. Kayla wasn't a wannabe pilot. She was a ghost, literally. But why was she here pretending to be a basic technician? And why wasn't anyone recognizing her? One evening, Sergeant Tyson confronted her. "Ma'am, I know who you are." "No," she replied quietly. "You know who I was. But why are you here? Why aren't you flying?" Kayla was quiet for a long moment. "Because flying requires trust, and trust requires people who believe you exist." "What do you mean?" "After Hawkeye, they told everyone we were dead. Easier than explaining what really happened. When I came home, officially, I'd never been there. But you could prove..." "Prove what? That I survived a mission that never happened? That I flew aircraft that were never deployed? Sometimes, it's easier to let people think you're nobody." Sergeant Tyson finally understood. This wasn't about recognition. This was about a hero who'd been erased from history and had accepted that erasure as the price of survival. But he also realized something else. The maintenance quality on their Apaches had improved dramatically since Kayla arrived. Accident rates were down 70%. System failures had almost disappeared. She wasn't just maintaining helicopters, she was keeping pilots alive, the same way she'd always done. Come and I was wrong if you've ever completely misjudged someone. A week later, Apache B-02 developed a sensor malfunction. None of the technicians could identify the cause. The flight commander arrived, demanding immediate diagnosis. "We have a mission in 6 hours. This bird needs to fly." In the tense silence, Kayla stepped forward. "I know that malfunction. Give me 5 minutes." The lead technician protested. "Enough! We don't need logistics personnel in the cockpit." But the commander raised his hand. "Let her try." Kayla climbed onto the aircraft fuselage. She opened the exact auxiliary panel and used an anti-static screwdriver to reconnect a hidden circuit breaker. A technique only Ghost Apache pilots knew. The entire maintenance bay fell silent. No more laughter. The identity reveal. The chief technician asked quietly, "Where did you learn Ghost 57 protocols?" Kayla didn't answer with words. She rolled up her right sleeve. On her arm, a long burned scar, and below it, a black and silver insignia. Ghost 3, Hawkeye Ops. A symbol that only survivors of the military's darkest operation would carry. The flight commander went pale. "I was a medic reserves that year. Ghost 3, nobody survived that mission." He pulled out his phone, showing an old photograph. A female pilot with glasses and braided hair, standing next to a damaged Apache. The caption read, "K. Tran, the last night flyer." The room erupted in whispers. "That's her. She's alive. How is this possible?" A minute later, the entire maintenance crew stood at attention. The head technician saluted and said quietly, "I'm sorry, Lieutenant Tran." "I was wrong," but Kayla's response surprised everyone. "I'm not Lieutenant Tran anymore. That person died in 2014. I'm just Kayla, and I'm here to make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else." The commander stepped forward. "Ma'am, if you're Ghost 3, then you're one of the most decorated pilots in military history. Why are you working maintenance?" "Because maintenance keeps pilots alive. Flying gets the glory. Maintenance prevents the funerals." "But your skills..." "My skills are exactly where they need to be, in these helicopters, making sure they don't fail when someone needs them most." An older sergeant who'd been quiet the whole time finally spoke. "Ma'am, I flew rescue missions in 2015, 3 separate occasions. Our Apaches performed flawlessly in conditions that should have killed us. Perfect maintenance, perfect preparation. Was that you?" Kayla nodded slightly. "Ghost protocols. We learned to maintain aircraft for impossible conditions, because impossible conditions were our specialty." The room fell silent again, but this time it was reverence, not shock. The flight commander made an announcement. "Effective immediately, all Apache maintenance will be supervised by our consultant, and anyone who has a problem with that can explain themselves to me personally." But Kayla held up her hand. "I don't need authority. I just need access. Let me do what I do best. Keep people safe. And if we need you to fly, Emergency situations? She looked at the Apache she'd just repaired. Then I'll be ready, but I prefer to help from the ground. Less dramatic, more effective. A young technician who'd mocked her earlier approached. Ma'am, I want to learn how to maintain aircraft the way you do. First lesson, every helicopter you touch might be someone's only way home. Treat it that way. What's the second lesson? The second lesson is that heroes don't always wear flight suits. Sometimes they wear coveralls and work in silence. Comment I owe someone if someone kept you safe and you never knew it. Kayla declined the offer to return to active flight duty. I've flown enough. Now I just want you all to fix right, fly right, and survive. She left behind a hand-drawn ghost modification schematic with a note. Don't laugh before you understand. Don't judge before you listen. A group of young technicians posted a photo of Kayla in the maintenance area. Ghost Chief, the last wing wiper. She continued coming to the base every morning, but didn't enter the workshop. Just sat outside, quietly cleaning instrument panels, alone. Then one day she stopped coming. On the control panel, a small note. If you survive today, teach the next person how to live with dignity. 3 months later, every Apache at Fort Carrington had perfect maintenance records. 0 system failures, 0 accidents. 6 months after that, technicians from other bases started requesting transfers to Fort Carrington to learn the new maintenance protocols. But there were no new protocols, just Kayla's standards, her attention to detail, her understanding that every bolt, every wire, every connection could mean the difference between life and death. A year later, a small memorial appeared in the maintenance hangar. Not official, not approved, just put there by the people who understood. Ghost 3, she fixed more than helicopters. She fixed our understanding of what service really means. Today, Apache technicians across the military still follow procedures that originated with Kayla Tran. They don't know her name, don't know her story, but every time a helicopter lands safely, every time a pilot comes home from a dangerous mission, every time a maintenance check prevents a disaster, her legacy lives on, not because she wanted recognition, but because she understood something profound. True heroes don't need to be remembered by name. They just need to make sure everyone else gets remembered by their families. Be like Kayla. Do excellent work without needing credit. Help people without expecting thanks. And when they underestimate you, let your results do the talking. Because sometimes, the most important thing you can do is the thing nobody sees you doing. Comment, I'll live better, if you believe quiet heroes deserve recognition. Kayla Tran's story isn't about forgotten glory. It's about honor that chooses to hide. She didn't demand her medals back, didn't need newspaper coverage. She just hoped nobody else would be misjudged, the way she had been. Today, there are countless Kaylas cleaning rotor blades, checking circuits, and nobody knows how they once kept the sky safe. So before you laugh at someone, remember, sometimes a rolled-up sleeve can rewrite everything you thought you knew. The most dangerous person in the room might be the one everyone ignores. The most skilled person on your team might be the one who never mentions their qualifications. And the most important work might be done by people who never ask for credit. Look closer, listen better, and when someone offers to help, maybe ask why they know so much, instead of assuming they know so little, because heroes don't always announce themselves. Sometimes, they just quietly make sure everyone else gets home safe. Comment she spoke through action if this story changed how you see quiet people.